From homeless black man to millionaire, the story that even Donald Trump and Elon Musk admire. They say you never really know the man sitting on the street corner, wrapped in tattered clothes and clutching a half-empty paper cup. Jamal wasn't just any homeless guy. No, his story flipped the world upside down. From sleeping on cold concrete to a millionaire with a past so wild, even Donald Trump and Elon Musk paused their endless chatter to notice. How? That's the question on everyone's lips. Jamal once ruled a secret empire of cryptocurrency investments before everything crashed down like a bomb. A lightning-fast fortune wiped away by fire, betrayal, and a string of tragedies so brutal that even his closest friends thought he vanished for good. But here he was, back on the streets, eyes sharp, hiding scars deeper than skin, on the edge of a new city nobody had ever seen, a future promised to erase poverty forever. Jamal stumbled into something no one warned him about. This city. Sounds like heaven, right? Or something worse. The scene was electric. The city rose like a steel beast from the dust, glass towers glinting under shaky sunlight, while cranes groaned and machines hummed. Workers swarmed, eyes flicking from their task to the looming figure of Ethan, whose smile never reached his eyes. People whispered, journalists' pens scratched feverishly, influencers tweeted like mad. The world watched. Jamal's worn hands clenched, heart pounding like drums in a chaotic rhythm. Something didn't sit right. Beneath the shining surfaces and promises of salvation lurked shadows, sliding unseen. A secret link, something tying Ethan and Jamal together, tangled deep in their history. Was it just a coincidence, or something far more dangerous? Their first meeting crackled tension like static before a storm. Ethan looked at Jamal with an unsettling calm, eyes cold yet hard to read. "You're a symbol, Jamal, but you don't see what I'm building yet." Jamal's throat tightened. Was this man a savior or a cage maker? Whispers grew louder. "He's selling our freedom," said one voice from the crowd. "A machine can't replace our heartbeat," shouted another. Tension snapped as Jamal's own demons clawed at his resolve. Could he trust himself? Would exposing the hidden truth cost him everything? Then, a sudden blackout swept the construction site. A scream tore through the silence, metal groaned, and eyes darted wildly. In that flash, a secret dropped like a bombshell. A connection neither expected, twisting their fates tighter, threatening the fragile line between friend and foe. The weight of the city's future pressed on Jamal's chest, lungs tight, visions of both ruin and hope burning behind his eyes. Who would win, this machine-built paradise, or the messy, raw fight for human freedom? And what price would be paid for control when the soul of the world hung in the balance? Jamal couldn't step back now, not with everything unraveling. But did he have the strength to burn the bridges linking him to the man ruling this rising city? The answer whispered somewhere in the chaos, waiting to explode. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're... Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Jamal's heart raced like a jackhammer. The electricity in the air crackled, and the chaotic scene blurred in his vision. Did he dare tread deeper into the storm, or would retreat save him from the dark hands of a tangled fate? That's when it happened. A blaring siren cut through the tension, the kind that made every hair stand on end. The ground beneath them rumbled, shaking loose debris from the framework above. Then it hit, a massive explosion, like a volcano erupting, sending a wave of dust and screams sweeping through the crowd. Cries pierced the air, muffling everything around him. Jamal's breath caught. He instinctively crouched low, hands over his head. The steel structure of Ethan's dream city groaned and collapsed. A twisted display of metal. In that instant, Jamal's thoughts scattered. The screams of the workers echoed, and panic erupted. People pushed and shoved, trying to escape the chaos. But then he saw Ethan, shock etched on his face, eyes wide and unblinking. He didn't run. He stood frozen, the embodiment of the nightmare unfolding. Something wasn't right. A flicker of movement caught Jamal's eye. Among the chaos, a figure darted, cloaked in a gray hood, weaving through the dust like a shadow. The strange figure paused just long enough for their eyes to lock with Jamal's, a look that sent chills down his spine. He felt a pang of recognition, a flicker of the past that didn't belong in this moment. Suddenly, the figure lifted a hand and pointed. Jamal's heart sank. Was this someone from his past? Had they come to finish what had been started all those years ago? But before he could move, another deafening explosion rang out, sending everyone sprawling. The atmosphere shifted. Somewhere, beneath the rubble, a truth lay buried. "I need you!" Ethan's frantic voice broke through the chaos. It was raw, desperate. "You're the only one who can. You've seen the darkness." Darkness? Jamal felt the air grow cold around him. Something in Ethan's eyes had shifted, an urgency, a fear. Was this all planned? Were their destinies intertwined beyond their understanding? Tension coiled tighter, and Jamal felt the weight of everything pressing down on him. The gray figure slipped away, lost in the thickening dust, leaving behind a lingering question. What truth did they carry? Jamal's mind raced. He needed answers, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the secrets buried here ran deeper than a mere explosion. The stakes were higher than he ever imagined, with panic fueling him. Jamal lunged towards Ethan. "What's going on? What do you know?" But Ethan's face flashed with something unrecognizable, a mix of anguish and... was it guilt? Jamal's instinct screamed at him. Everything he thought was solid now felt like smoke. As sirens wailed closer, Jamal pushed through the haze, searching for that figure. What truths waited to be uncovered? What did Ethan hide behind his chilling smile? The noise swirled around him, drowning out reason, but he could not turn back now. Fate had pulled him into a fight he never wanted to join, but somehow he felt this was only the beginning of many revelations yet to come. And with that realization struck, the ground trembled again, as if echoing a warning that this storm was far from over. Jamal couldn't step back now, not with everything unraveling. But did he have the strength to burn the bridges linking him to the man ruling this rising city? The answer whispered somewhere in the chaos, waiting to explode. Then it happened. A deafening noise surged through the air, a crack like thunder. The ground trembled beneath them. Jamal's heart raced. People screamed, dropping tools, scattering, eyes wide with terror. Dust swirled, choking the sunlight. In an instant, everything shifted. Out of the cloud of gray, shadows loomed, darting like phantoms. A massive structure shook, and then it fell. A section of the building collapsed, crashing into the earth like a giant breaking free. Concrete and steel tumbled down like a waterfall of destruction. Panic erupted as smoke choked the air. And then, in the heart of the chaos, Jamal's eyes locked on Ethan. At first, he stood there, shock plastered on his face. But then something changed. His expression hardened. He raised a hand, making a gesture that looked too calm for the madness around him. "Ethan!" Jamal shouted, voice barely carrying over the din. "What did you do?" But Ethan's mouth moved without sound, eyes gleaming with something dark. Behind him, just beyond the wreckage, figures emerged. People clad in black, faces obscured by masks, like they were waiting for this moment. Executing a plan crafted in shadows. Jamal's pulse quickened. Those figures, they were familiar, too familiar. His mind spun. He remembered whispers from his past, murmurs of betrayal, of colleagues turning to enemies. The air thickened with tension as recognition settled like ice in his veins. One of the masked figures stepped forward. A glint of recognition flashed in Jamal's chest. It was Marcus, a once trusted friend turned bitter rival. "Did you think it would be that simple?" he sneered, voice dripping with scorn. "We're just getting started." The crowd's fear fractured into a collective shudder. Confusion, anger, betrayal rippled through Jamal. He glanced back at Ethan, searching for the man who had seemed to hold his fate. But that mask of calm, it now looked like a well-crafted facade. What was Ethan really hiding? "Jamal!" Another voice shouted from the chaos. It was Lisa, a journalist, eager for the scoop, her eyes wild. "What's going on? Are you involved in this?" Jamal's heart sank. Could he even explain? Was he part of this twisted game? He shook his head, searching for his footing in the collapsing world around him. "No, I had no idea." But nobody seemed to hear him over the cries of workers rushing for safety. A cloud of dust and fear wrapping them all in chaos. The growing shadows moved with purpose, the sudden force of the scene reducing everything to a blur of frantic energy. Jamal turned back to Ethan, this man of dreams and ambition, now a puppet master in a nightmare. "What's happening?" For a heartbeat, silence fell. Time disintegrated. Ethan's gaze didn't falter. "You're still a symbol, Jamal. But each symbol can either build or destroy. Choose wisely." Before Jamal could respond, Marcus lunged, grabbing him and yanking him away from the ground zero. "You can't trust him. You don't know what he wants." And in that moment of shock, just as Jamal tried to free himself, a sudden explosion cracked through the air. Flames leaped up, orange tongues reaching for the sky, consuming everything in their wake. The heat blasted against him, pushing him back. Jamal fell, the world spiraling into a cacophony of sound and fury. He clutched at the dirt, breath hot in his lungs, unable to comprehend the truth now shattering around him. Who was the real enemy? It was all twisting, intertwining, leaving him gasping for air. And as the flames rose, he understood. Nothing would ever be the same again. Jamal lay on the cold ground, dazed. Flames danced around him, crackling like angry ghosts of the past. The heat seared his skin. He struggled to push up, the dust thick and suffocating. One moment, he was on the brink of understanding everything, and now chaos swallowed him whole. "Jamal, get up!" Ethan shouted, his voice a mix of panic and anger. But Jamal felt heavy, like his limbs had turned to lead beneath the swirling dust. "Ethan!" he gasped, searching for answers. But all he saw was madness unfolding. The masked figures moved like shadows now, weaving through the wreckage, their intentions unclear but menacing. A raw instinct clawed at Jamal. He thrust himself to his feet, ready to confront the nightmare. "Why are they here?" Jamal asked, breathless. Panic sang through him, mixing with adrenaline. "You have to trust me," Ethan yelled, but trust felt like a fragile thread, ready to snap. Before he could respond, another explosion ripped through the air, sending a barrage of debris flying. "Watch out!" Jamal ducked, narrowly escaping the shower of concrete. His heart hammered. The world felt like it was collapsing around him, both literally and metaphorically. What had begun as a fight for freedom now felt like a fight for survival. Jamal turned, searching for the masked figures. They flashed like phantoms in the smoke. But then, amidst the chaos, a familiar face emerged. "Marcus!" Jamal shouted in disbelief. Heat surged through him. "You? What are you doing?" Marcus's face twisted with contempt. "Surprised? You think I'd let you destroy everything I built? Jamal's world spun. The betrayal felt like a slap in the face. "This isn't building, it's destruction." His voice cracked, raw emotion spilling over. But Marcus just sneered. "You'll see, I always finish what I start." Jamal's heart dropped. Start what? This madness? Then, through his anger, a sudden realization pierced through the chaos. A flicker of truth tangled with fear. All those whispers from his past. Marcus, waiting, plotting? But why? The stakes were higher than just a city. Were they tied to the shadows of his own life? In that moment, something shifted again. A figure in a gray hood emerged, the one who had pointed at Jamal earlier. Every instinct screamed at him. "You, what do you know?" But the figure just turned and ran into the thick veil of smoke. Panic surged. "No, come back!" Jamal pushed through the crowd, but fear gripped him tight. "Jamal, don't!" Ethan shouted. But it was too late. Driven by a need to uncover the truth, Jamal charged forward. He had to know. As he stepped deeper into the smoke, one thought burned fiercely in his mind. What had he done to end up here? Life had twisted unexpectedly, darker than he'd ever imagined. Duh. And then it happened. The gray hood turned, revealing the face of someone close, someone he once thought he could trust. "Anna?" Jamal gasped. Confusion smashed into him like a brick wall. She had disappeared so long ago, a part of his life he thought was gone for good. "Jamal, listen," she said, urgency in her voice. "You don't understand. You're part of a bigger game." He stood frozen, heart racing, every question colliding. "What game? What truth are you hiding?" "Someone has been controlling all of us." Her words trembled, a haunting weight behind them. "It's not just Ethan or Marcus. There's someone else behind the curtain. Someone who wants to bring this city down. But they need you to do it. You're the key, Jamal." Shock rippled through him, gnawing at his sanity. Was it all a play? Had they betrayed him? Or was he the one who had betrayed himself? As the smoke thickened, Jamal stared at Anna, desperately seeking answers in her eyes. The flames raged around them, threatening to consume everything. "What do we do?" But before she could answer, the ground shook again. A booming sound. The city wasn't just a place anymore. It was alive, and it demanded blood. With a fierce roar, a part of the structure collapsed again, and Jamal's heart dropped. Everything felt tied to this moment, like strings connecting all players on this dark stage. Could he break free from the control that had trapped him? And what position did he truly hold in this chaotic game? In the chaos, Jamal realized the truth could either destroy them all or set them free. And as the flames flickered brighter, he felt the weight of his choice closing in. The final act had just begun, but the ending remained shrouded in darkness, waiting to be discovered. The weight of the city's future pressed on Jamal's chest, lungs tight, visions of both ruin and hope burning behind his eyes. Just as the tension crackled in the air, a low rumble echoed through the site. It reverberated like thunder, teeth clenching and nails biting into palms. The crowd gasped. Smoke, thick and black. It twisted into the crisp air, rolling across the skyline, snaking around gleaming towers. Workers screamed, panicking. Jamal's heart raced. Was this part of Ethan's plan? Or had something sinister erupted from the shadows? Ethan's face twisted in disbelief, eyes darting. But then, his entire demeanor shifted. A glimmer crossed his features, something almost satisfied. Was this chaos what he had hoped for? As the smoke billowed, those around them surged, desperate to escape. Jamal turned to see a figure emerge from the haze. Tall, cloaked in shadows, stepping forward casually, while the world spun into chaos. The figure's laugh rang out, a mad, bubbling sound. Recognition gripped Jamal. It was Malachi, Ethan's estranged brother, the very man lost to whispers and myths on the internet. The one claimed dead years ago when a deal gone wrong had sent everything crashing around them. Malachi was the ghost of their shared past. A nightmare returned to haunt them. "You thought you could build heaven without me, Ethan?" His voice dripped with mockery, eyes wild. "This city is merely a coffin waiting to be sealed." Gasps echoed as the workers froze. Some turned, stilling, eyes wide with disbelief. Jamal's heart raced. What did this mean? Malachi once embodied the kind of betrayal that shattered lives. Ethan's lips curled into a sinister smile, a game played far ahead. "You're a relic, brother. Time to bury your dreams." His posture shifted, revealing a hidden confidence that made Jamal's skin crawl. Behind Malachi, red lights blinked furiously. Fire alarms? Chaos erupted. The machines were powering down. Was Ethan in control of all this? Panic gripped the crowd, thick as the smoke now. Jamal's hands tightened. His thoughts whipped in every direction. Trust, betrayal, the future. Then, with a single motion, Malachi unlatched a device slung over his shoulder. It flickered ominously. A pulse rumbled through the ground. "This city," he shouted over the storm of turmoil, "will burn! You think artificial intelligence is the answer? It's a cage, as cold as my brother's heart. But I will free you." Jamal's breath hitched. The weight of the moment crashed into him. This was no longer just a city rising. This was war, a fight for souls tangled in technology's grip. How deep did the betrayal go? Had it all been a trap? Did Ethan lure Jamal into this scheme for a reason? Malachi brought memories that should have stayed buried. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the device. Jamal staggered back. The world swirled in bright light and ferocious noise. His heart raced, fear locking his limbs. This was not just about survival anymore. This was a reckoning. The crowd shrieked, eyes wide, a hiss of tension swallowing their voices. Jamal stood frozen, body shaking. All that had felt so certain was unraveling. Ethan, Malachi, the city, it was all spiraling. Just as the light dimmed, Jamal caught a glimpse of Ethan's face, twisted in rage and fear, while Malachi's laughter echoed through the chaos. Jamal's mind whirled. Who really held the power here? Who had played him in a game he didn't even know he was a part of? He didn't have the answers, but one thing was certain. The battle for the city and his own freedom was only just beginning. The pulse of the device throbbed dangerously, and Jamal barely knew if he could trust himself to stand tall against the firestorm ahead. The air crackled with uncertainty, electric and heavy, as Jamal tried to drown out the chaos around him. Everything was spiraling, and the shadows loomed larger with every heartbeat. He turned his gaze back to Ethan, the billionaire's cold demeanor almost piercing. The crowd surged with voices rising in protest. Was this arrogance or genuine belief? Jamal couldn't tell. Then, like a drum on a parade, a loud bang shattered the air, a blast that echoed across the site. The construction scaffolding trembled and swayed. Jamal's heart stopped. Debris rained down, dust swirling into the air like a dark omen. Panic erupted. Bodies collided as people scrambled for safety. Eyes wide with fright. Ethan's face snapped to Jamal. But in the chaos, there was something fleeting in his gaze, a flicker of guilt. Before Jamal could process, another explosion ruptured the ground. A cloud of dust and smoke rushed toward him, swallowing everything in its tumult. "Run!" someone cried, and they did, fleeing like wild animals from a fire. But Jamal was rooted, shock freezing him in place. The noise became a cacophony of screams, groans, and sirens. Then, amidst the eruption and the chaos, he felt a shake beneath his feet, a tremor that spread through his body. Something was wrong. He turned, eyes scanning the crowd, and there it was. Ethan, oddly composed, moving with purpose toward a figure emerging from the shadows. A woman. She stepped forward, her face partially obscured by a hood, but her eyes glowed like lanterns in the night. Something familiar tugged at Jamal's memory. How could he know her? The crowd surged and ebbed around him, but all he could focus on was the way the woman fixed her gaze on Ethan. There was a connection there, a bond deeper than he could see. Then the scream came, a piercing, heart-wrenching sound that could only come from agony. The woman stumbled back, clutching her chest. Jamal's mind raced. He knew her. It was Zara, his sister, missing for years. Zara! The name clawed its way out of his throat. Jamal lunged, but was halted by a surge of bodies. No! Get back! Ethan shouted, his voice suddenly sharp. She can't! But it was too late. With a flicker of fury, Zara's hand shot out, revealing a device pulsing with light. "You took everything from me," she gasped, voice trembling. "I won't let you do this to anyone else." The air thickened, and for a heartbeat, all sound fell away. Jamal's heart thundered in his chest. Was Ethan truly a monster behind his polished smile? Was he the crash that took everything from them? The realization hit Jamal with a cold wave, a betrayal deeper than he'd known. Then the device exploded in a blinding flash. Heat engulfed him. Jamal's breath left his lungs, and everything went dark. Only silence wrapped around him. Questions swirled. Did Zara survive? Was Ethan truly who he claimed to be? The truth, so dangerous, so winding, threatened to pull him under. And still, somewhere in that void, Jamal heard a whisper, chilling and beckoning. The game has only just begun. Jamal's heart raced, a wild drum pounding against his ribcage. Each beat a reminder of the chaos unfurling around him. The sudden blackout plunged everything into a suffocating darkness, amplifying the shouts and crashing noises, swirling in the air like storm clouds. He felt the tightness in his throat, the kind that comes before the storm breaks. Where was Ethan? The man was always a step ahead, but Jamal's eyes struggled to adjust. Shadows danced like phantoms. And then, a blinding flash erupted from behind the construction site. Bright, blinding light surrounded Jamal, and in that moment, fear gripped him like a vice. The world around him shifted. People screamed. Cries of surprise and horror echoed, overlapping in a single symphony of panic. From the light emerged a figure, tall, cloaked in shadows and dust. A silhouette that sent waves of recognition crashing through Jamal. It couldn't be, but it was. Kara, his sister! Jamal stumbled, breath hitching. He hadn't seen her in years. Not since everything fell apart. She had vanished into the cracks of the world, swallowed by secrets and drugs that haunted their family. But there she stood, fierce and wild, eyes blazing, dirt smeared on her cheeks. "Jamal!" she yelled, voice piercing through the chaos like a siren. "They're coming for us!" "What do you mean?" he stammered, confusion mixing with the thumping in his chest. "Who is coming?" She looked behind her, frantic, fear radiating off her like heat. "Ethan, he's not who you think he is. It's all a lie." Jamal's mind reeled. The interviews, la pública adoración, las gleaming promesas, sentían como un sueño aculpado. Todo lo que pensaba entender sobre el hombre se destruyó como ceniza en el viento. Ethan está haciendo algo oscuro. No salva la ciudad. Él está preparando un control, apareciendo figuras. The crowd swirló en confusión. Some fleden, Otras encontraron tataras con la curiosidad y el miedo. Jamal sentía esa presión de anillar, grabándose a su garganta. Estaba sofocante por la tensión. ¡Run! Garra shouted, but the words barely hung in the air. She whirled around, eyes drawing Jamal's toward the newcomers. We have to go! Now! That's when Jamal noticed. One of the masked figures had a familiar stance. A tattoo peeked from beneath their sleeve, a black wolf circling a silver dollar. Jamal's stomach dropped as memories flooded back. Heated arguments, broken promises, the fallout. Ethan's gang, he gasped, a dreadful realization crashing over him. Suddenly, a sharp blast sliced through the air. The sound was deafening. A gunshot, close enough to feel its shockwave ripple through his body. Jamal felt the taste of fear in his mouth, acrid and bitter. Someone cried out, a voice rising above the chaos. He caught sight of Ethan, watching from a distance, the cold smile still etched on his face. It was more sinister now, filled with a new power, and in that look, Jamal saw his own reflection, a potential future he loathed. Jamal, Kara's voice pulled him back to the moment. We can't let them take you. Remember who you are. Every instinct screamed at him to trust her, to flee before it was too late. But doubts clawed at him. Was this all a setup? Was she even telling the truth? As the chaos surged, Jamal realized the truth lay buried somewhere beneath the masks. He had to choose. In that heartbeat, the world clenched tighter around him. The stakes had never been higher, and everything he thought he knew began to unravel. What kind of empire was this? And who truly held the reins? With shadows closing in, Jamal took a deep breath, his resolve hardening. There was no turning back now. But what waited beyond that darkness, only time would tell. Jamal took a step back, his heart pounding against his ribs like a drum. The chaos around him blurred. He needed answers. He needed to trust someone. But who? His sister Zara was there, her eyes shining bright with urgency, pleading for him to listen. The masked figures moved closer, their intentions shadowed. The air felt electric, and every instinct screamed for him to flee. Jamal! Kara yelled again, but he was lost in the fray. What did she mean when she said Ethan was bad? They had been fighting for the same objective. His head spun with confusion, but before he could speak, the ground shook violently beneath their feet. Then it happened. A loud crack split the air. A massive section of the collapsing building lurched violently, sending a cloud of debris spiraling toward them. Jamal shielded his face just in time, but a sickening feeling filled his gut. In that moment of panic, a light flickered through the smoke, a flash, electric and out of control. When the dust settled, Jamal blinked. Then he saw her. Standing in the center of the chaos was none other than Ethan's sister, an enigmatic figure who had returned from the shadows. But she wasn't how Jamal remembered her at all. There was something different, something darker. Her presence was suffocating, like a heavy fog. "You were supposed to stay hidden!" Ethan screamed, shock etching lines on his face. "What's happening?" Jamal shouted, pushing through the crowd, adrenaline coursing through him. The air was thick with tension. "Ethan," the woman said, her voice cold. It's all unraveling, just as I foretold. The city, your plans, they're all falling apart because of you! You always thought you knew the game. As she spoke, Jamal's breath caught. You mean to tell me you're behind all this? He felt the weight of her words settle in his chest. Was this the real mastermind? Ethan's face twisted with rage. You were nothing. I built this city from the ground up. All of it is mine. No todo. The woman stepped closer, a dangerous glint in her eyes, and Jamal felt a jolt of recognition. You never looked far enough, big brother. The true power lies within family ties. Silence fell over the crowd like a heavy blanket. Jamal's heart sank at the revelation. This was no game. There were deeper connections at play. What do you mean? He gasped, unable to catch his breath. Your influence, she said, pointing directly at Jamal, is the key to everything. All this chaos? It's designed to lead to you, Jamal. You're the catalyst. Shivers ran down his spine. Everything he thought he wanted, this chance for redemption, began to unravel, twisting like vines around his soul. Me? Jamal's voice cracked. You can't be serious. Oh, I am. Her laugh echoed, cold and mirthless, against the backdrop of chaos. You see, you're more than mere chance. You were meant to ignite all this. Your past, your pain, it fuels the fire, my dear brother. And you had no idea. Jamal felt the world tilt. Questions clawed at his mind. What had he done? What were they preparing him for? A strangled scream erupted behind him. It was Kara, eyes wide with horror. Jamal, don't listen to her. There's still time. But the revelation hung between them like a noose, heavy and suffocating. The laughter faded into a menacing silence, the crowd stilling in shock. Jamal looked between Zara and Ethan, feeling torn between two worlds. Who were they really? And as the smoke swirled around him, he realized this wasn't just about freedom anymore. This was about power, betrayal, and blood. The ground shook again under the weight of a looming truth, leaving Jamal gasping. Nothing would ever be the same. Jamal's breath hitched, eyes darting from Zara to Ethan, confusion swelling like a tidal wave. He felt trapped, caught between the truth and the lies that bled into one another. The air was thick with tension, every heartbeat a drum signaling his fate. A catalyst? Jamal's voice barely rose above the chaos, trembling with disbelief. Was he really some pawn in a twisted game? And just like that, everything shifted again. A sharp crack echoed, sharp as lightning, and the ground trembled violently beneath them. But this was no ordinary quake. It felt deliberate, menacing. Time slowed as Jamal's pulse quickened. He turned just in time to see a massive beam from the collapsing construction site break free, crashing down with violent force. "Watch out!" someone screamed, the panic rippling through the crowd like wildfire. Jamal barely had time to process when a figure sprang into action, launching himself toward Zara. The dust engulfed them, swirling thick and choking. The next moment, Jamal watched in disbelief as Malachi, Ethan's estranged brother, hurled himself forward, shielded Zara even as the steel beam fell toward them both. A triumphant grin plastered across Malachi's face, like a predator claiming its prey. The beam struck hard, metallic, clanging against flesh and bone. A dull thud mixed with the gasps around him. and Jamal felt a heavy weight press upon his chest. A shroud of dust filled the air, hiding the aftermath, smothering screams of shock. Malachi! Ethan's voice wrenched from his throat, filled with a mix of horror and rage. Jamal shook, frozen in shock. Had Malachi just sacrificed himself for Zara? His mind raced. Was it loyalty or something deeper? The dust began to settle, revealing a scene etched in uncertainty. The ground trembled gently now, remnants of faith and fear struggling within the collective gasp of the crowd. Suddenly, a frantic voice broke through. "Get them out! Someone help!" It was Kara, rushing toward the cloud of confusion, with desperation burning in her eyes. "We need to move!" But the crowd was paralyzed, shock painted across their faces, mouths parted mid-scream. Jamal squinted against the dust and chaos. Then, through the haze, a figure limped forward, bloodied, battered, but alive. It was Zara, blood trickling from a gash on her cheek, eyes wide and frantic. Her expression morphed from confusion to fury as she knelt beside Malachi's limp body. "What have you done?" Then a change washed over her, a strange shift that sent chills racing up Jamal's spine. Suddenly, Zara reached out, placing her hand over Malachi's heart, and closed her eyes. The world stilled, as if caught in a timeless moment. "Zara, what are you doing?" Jamal croaked out, his voice laced with dread. She opened her eyes, blue like stormy skies, and they glowed with an otherworldly light. "I have to, Jamal. We didn't know. None of us knew." The crowd stirred, confusion morphing into wild whispers and frantic cries. "Is she what is happening?" Moments later, Malachi's body shook violently beneath her hands. The pulse of energy surged between them, light radiating with raw intensity. Jamal's heart raced. Was this some kind of magic? A second chance for Malachi? Or was it something darker? The air crackled, charged with unspoken power. Then, with a final pulse, Malachi's body convulsed, and from the depths of his unconsciousness, a voice echoed, deep and haunting, carrying ages of grief. "I must reclaim what's mine, the city, the legacy." Jamal's stomach dropped. The words cut through him like a knife. Everything he thought he knew, every thread of trust, twisted into chaos. Was Malachi somehow connected to this city's dark heart? As the whispers rose, so did the stakes, a jagged edge slicing through the illusion. Jamal's mind spun, entangled in confusion. Could he trust anyone now? In that instant, everything changed. The crowd looked different, faces twisted in newfound understanding of unseen horrors. And as the weight of revelation descended, the night felt colder. The tapestry of secrets unraveled, leaving behind a gaping question. What truly lay beneath the surface? Zara Malachi's destinías intercambiaron en un danzo del feite. Jamal's mundo separaba el caos y se realizaba con un tuisgarro nenihuelosridito. Se pasaba lo que empezaba. El verdadero juego fue juego. Luego, el caos alrededor superaba en un mundo entero. Las pelotas de duche del ilumen de la luz emergencia. Jamal empieza a mirarle en torno. ¡Zara! ¿Por qué le hago este? ¡Me hago este! ¡Obseden! Dijo Jamal. Quiero que la pluma se te imponga en tu pecho. Jamal, elegante sí, o Sedin. Jamal en tu airito. Bilio, estás torpe. ¿Por qué, Vito? Y con esto. ¿Por qué Jamal se imponía algo útil? Me respetaba en ti. Siempre perplejo. You have to stop, Jamal shouted, but her expression was one of fierce determination. You don't understand what's at stake. I have to do this, she replied, voice steady against the swirling chaos. It's the only way. Malachi's body lay limp before them, but the pulse of energy between him and Zara hummed louder now. The crowd held their breath, entranced by the drama unfolding in front of them. I can't just stand here, Jamal thought, fists clenching and unclenching, as the weight of his decision bore down on him. Kara's voice pierced the tension. You have to help her. If we lose this fight, everything will fall apart. But as he turned to her, doubt clawed at his insides. Trust felt like shaky ground beneath a crumbling building. What if Zara was leading them into a trap? Before he could decide, another tremor shook the sight, rattling his resolve. There's no choice. I trust you, Zara. Do what you have to do, he said finally, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Zara nodded, and her hands glowed brighter than before. The light was blinding, casting sharp shadows on the faces of the crowd, illuminating fear, anger, and surprise. Together, we can reclaim what's been lost, she declared, and in that moment, the air grew thick with anticipation. As she channeled the energy, a roar erupted. Malachi stirred, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The crowd gasped collectively, hope mingling with trepidation. Then, just as quickly as it began, the light flickered and dimmed. Zara fell to her knees, energy waning. I can't sustain it, she breathed, exhaustion lining her face. Zara! Jamal rushed to her side, adrenaline fueling his fear. The crowd surged with restless energy, shifting, desperate for answers. You have to take it, Jamal, she whispered, eyes locking onto his. You're connected too. It's in your blood. In that heartbeat, everything twisted. Jamal felt a surge of energy rise inside him. Not just his past, but the power woven into the city, into the very ground. Could he wield it? Before he could process, he took her hands, feeling the energy flow between them. In that instant, memories crashed over him, revealing dark shadows and deep heartache. I will fight for this city, for our futures! With purpose, he directed the energy toward Malachi, who was rising now, groggy, yet alive. No more shadows! We take back our story! Malachi's eyes widened, clarity returning with the energy. You can't do this without facing the truth, he managed, his voice raw. Together! And in that moment, the crowd erupted, a collective roar of defiance. They were more than workers. They were souls, bound together, and beneath the smoke-filled sky, unity ignited like fire. Stronger than fear, stronger than betrayal, they surged forward. Emotions braided into something palpable, hope, anger, determination. As the light expanded, people joined hands, energy rippling through the crowd. A living tapestry of resilience. But then came a crash, a sound of destruction echoing in the distance. The city trembled once more. Jamal's chest tightened. Was this the cost of their uprising? The answer hung in the air, tantalizing yet uncertain. Only now, amid the swirling chaos, did it dawn on him. Victory was not guaranteed. A flicker of hesitation crept on the edges of his thoughts. A future blurred in front of him, promising salvation and peril in equal measure. As the light surrounded them, elevating their spirits, Jamal knew the fight was only beginning. The battle would rage on, and victory was a road still shrouded in shadows. The stakes had never been higher, but this time he would not walk alone. Now, more than ever, the importance of this moment resonated, and with the collective energy of the crowd rising, he realized something profound. This wasn't just about one person or one city. This was a fight for hope, for clarity in a world filled with darkness. And as the dust settled, one thought remained, intertwining with the laughter and cries around him. The future was unwritten, and he was ready to write it. Before you go, listen closely. You have to subscribe now. Smash that like button and show your support. This is the moment for you to engage. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Don't wait even a second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Help us keep this community alive.